Hi, everyone. It's Holly Amaya and Anne-Marie Hoftailing from Story Imprinting. At Story Imprinting, we are a company that teaches great humans, great companies, the art and science of storytelling. And if you're here on our YouTube channel, welcome. You have a ton of professional development content that's available for free on our channel for you to peruse and consume. Today, I want to talk to you, Anne-Marie, about this, what you mentioned to me about Sarah Jessica Parker and Just Like That, which is the Sex and the City reboot that's happening on HBO Max. Talk to me about what caught your attention this morning.
So I just think it's interesting that, and by the way, whether you love Sex and the City or hate Sex and the City, we don't care. We're not here to defend Sex and the City as a franchise. We're here to talk about something very particular about storytelling and movie making. And she's getting an enormous amount of sort of comments and criticism about all of a sudden she's aged, all of a sudden. And she sort of has really pushed back and said, I don't know what you want me to do. This is what I look like. And do you want me to just be silent and go away? And the answer is yes. I think that is what people want her to do. That now that she's not, you know, sort of this young, cute, quirky version, but she's a woman in an aging body, we would like those stories to not be told. And I think that this is a kind of wild, dangerous thing that happens. It's not merely about criticizing women and this obsessive, youth culture we have. But it's also about when we do that, we silence these stories, right? We don't really want to talk about neuroatypical people. We don't really want to see aging women. We don't really want to see. So what we do is like, we just push those narratives aside. And I think that what she's talking about is something that happens. It's not new. It's not surprising, but I do think that we are living in a time that both, you know, Frankie and Grace can exist. And we're seeing some of these other possibilities. And yet, you know, women are still being just lambasted for just, you know, aging in their bodies.
But also being, you know, lambasted for doing, you know, indulging in cosmetic procedures. I mean, you and I talked about this, but Kristen Davis, who played Charlotte on Sex and the City, is back for the reboot. And when some production stills leaked, like back, you know, a couple months ago, before production began in earnest, she just took a ration of crap on social media about her face, you know, and who knows, she does look different, right? But she's still a beautiful woman. And you think like, well, you know, I think it's quite possible that she felt a tremendous amount of pressure, right? I mean, my mouse is dying, Anne-Marie, and I'm not gonna be able to stop this video, so I'm gonna plug it in.
Don't mind us, everyone.
Well, sorry about that. Like literally just died. But you know, I think
issue. No, I think you make an excellent point. No matter what we do, we are not worthy of existing, being heard or seen once we're a certain age. Whether we try to intervene with aging or whether we embrace it, not good enough. You don't deserve to speak. You don't deserve to be seen. And if you think that women don't hear that message, they do. And they've internalized it. They've internalized it in corporate America. They've internalized it in film. They've internalized it everywhere. And the larger destructive issue is, it is as if we were saying, you get half a life.
Right.
That's it. The rest of it is like, you know, no, we don't want you. And you know, again, is this new? No, it's not new. Is it just Sarah Jessica Parker? Of course not. Tons of actresses have talked about this for decades and decades and decades. And we're still talking about it.
Right. And it is very gendered. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? I mean, men just don't, they're not criticized in the same way. And to your point, I mean, I love just putting it around the silencing of the stories, right? And this is not just something that happens to actresses. It's something that happens across the board, you know, regardless of what industry you're in. You know, certainly like as you know, I have a PR background, and I've totally seen this happen with publicists. You get to kind of a certain age and you are less, often you are viewed as lesser than, you know, and that feels supremely unfair.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we have lots of coaching clients who exist in the tech world.
Yeah.
I have a client right now who talks about, do I leave these 10 years of experience off my resume? But if I do that, then I'm going to be in a lower salary.
Right.
And so then I'll be punished. So it's this like bizarre space in which to exist and contort yourself to be just the right amount of palatable and just the right amount of experience to not offend or distress anyone.
Right. I remember thinking when I was a lawyer, like, okay, so at what point do I have enough experience and I'm like still like young and hip enough, but I'm not like too old to be considered for certain things, right? And I remember thinking that it sounds ridiculous, but when I was in my 20s, right, I was looking, sort of trying to forecast what the trajectory of my career at the time I thought I would stay a lawyer would look like, you know, and it was sort of like, what is that magic sweet spot of like 3 or 4 years? Where does that exist? And I know that you, as you mentioned, you see it with coaching clients time and again.
We are really age phobic in our culture, like so much so that I think that we don't see the value of people who are older. We don't see the contribution. We still think it's fine to like joke around about like, hey, boomer, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That it's like in a work environment, what you're really saying is like, you're not that smart, or because you don't know X, Y, or Z, or aren't aware of these things. And I just think it's dangerous. I think that no matter where we do it, whether it's age, gender, race, sexuality, wherever we're doing it, this idea that who gets to decide the stories that are told and who gets to decide what we see and what we consume. I mean, I just read this great book, Cassandra. I highly recommend it. We'll drop the link. But she talks about this idea of, you know, all storytelling myth is really based on a very masculine framework, and what would happen if we really examined that in a thoughtful and considered way. And I think it's a great question. I think storytelling largely is biased. You know, she references this quote, history, you know, isn't what happened, it's who told the story. And I think that that's something to really consider in what we're trying to sort of stay. It's not that we're trying to, you know, push forward one narrative. We're trying to open the lanes so that there are more of them, so that there's greater accuracy than this idea that there's, you know, this is what, you know, this is the one universal story about romance or love or people who are working, and they all involve people in a certain age frame who look a certain way. And what if we kind of disrupt and dismantle that and create more space for more narratives? And what would happen if we did that?
I love that. If you liked this, if this spoke to you in any way, comment on the video. We love the comments. It helps us shape the content. Anne-Marie, thank you so much, as always. Wonderful to see you. And until next time, y'all, be good to one another. Take care.